Welcome back to Franco Fridays. I've got a film that I love that's dear and dear to my heart, 1981's Bloody Moon. Franco really never delved into the slasher giallo genre except for this film, and it was at the behest of a German producer named Hartig, who actually went on to produce Cross of Iron, great war film. But Franco delved in a lot of fantasy and horror genre stuff, and this is his slasher film. Of course, back in 1981 when this film came out, everybody was making a slasher film. This film actually has elements of giallo too, because you've got a black mask, black glove killer, as well as just a straight up slasher. So it kind of mixes two genres. It stars Olivia Pascal as Angela, and she is a girl at a boarding school, and the boarding school is being run by this very rich aunt who has two relatives that are due to inherit her estate. And of course, whenever there's money and inheritance involved, you can imagine there's going to be bloodshed as well. Miguel and his sister. Miguel has a scar on his face. He looks like he's been deformed, and he has been in an insane asylum for a number of years and recently released. He killed off a girl with a pair of scissors and was committed to an institution. His sister is kind of watching over him, and those two are kind of competing for the inheritance at this girls' language boarding school in Spain. So that's kind of the backdrop for the story, but basically it's kind of a setup for a lot of giallo-esque and slasher-type killings. And Franco, as is his typical Franco, he brings to the table, without a whole lot of help, some really, really beautiful set pieces, beautiful photography, and an interesting style that comes along with this slasher film. This film has some great kills. It actually has a lot of kills. It's like 9 different kills, and really they spare nothing. I mean, there's a reason why this film ended up on the video nasties. There's a number of iconic kills that pretty much guaranteed, at least in that time, it was going to make the video nasties. Now, Franco had a lot of trouble with this production. Wolf Hertig, the producer, the German producer, had a certain idea of what he wanted. He wanted the film shot in Spain. He wanted the film shot in Germany. And Franco was like, well, I've got a much better school and much better set pieces in Spain. And as well as the producer, he had a guy named Tomac that was a script writer, and this was his first and last script, and I can see why. There's some real issues with the story and the script, but I think Franco overcame those things and did the best he could with what little he had. But certainly he was in competition with the producer and the script writer to produce a quality product. But I think he did it. There's a lot of black humor in this film, whether it was picked up by the audience intentionally or unintentionally. Clearly Franco had some intent. This was a very tongue-in-cheek slasher film, but it's got a lot of iconic kills, and I think it's a fantastic one. I think it's one that, if you're uncertain about Franco, but you like slasher films or giallo films, this is the film to kind of whet your appetite, because I think if you watch this and you like this, then you need to delve more into Franco films. Another interesting tidbit about this is that Pink Floyd, the producer, made all kinds of promises to Franco. We were going to have a big name stunt actor from America. We were going to have Pink Floyd do the soundtrack. Of course, none of those things came to pass. And it's interesting about the music. The music has similarities to Dark Side of the Moon type sound. So apparently Franco, I guess, his appetite whetted by potential to have Pink Floyd do the soundtrack, managed to somehow find a pretty decent backup sound. It's a very hypnotic guitar sound to this film. This is a great slasher giallo film and a great Franco film. I give it an 8 out of 10. This release from Severin is beautiful. It's a pristine release. The print, normally you get some natural film grain. This looks, you can't even see the film grain. This thing looks totally scrubbed. I'm not sure if it's a 2K scan or a 4K scan. It doesn't really say. But it looks like a 4K scan, high def. It just is a beautiful, beautiful print. Pristine picture quality. From a sound perspective, you got a 2.0 German or English audio soundtrack option. The only negative I see is there's no English subtitles. I like the English subtitles. Additionally, with this release, you get an 18-minute interview with Franco, who talks about the production and how he got to do a slasher film. And basically the story was everybody was doing and wanting a slasher film in the early 80s. And so that's by the nature of it, he decided to dip his toe in it. With slasher films, I always like to do kind of my Joe Bob Briggs drive-in totals, and this film lends itself perfectly to that. So let me give you the Joe Bob Briggs totals for this film. Now remember, my scoring criteria is basically 10 points or more gives it a kind of a first tier slasher film. So Bloody Moon, we have one scissor stabbing with a zoom in, as is typical Franco. Lots of zooming in on this film, and actually some of it didn't work. I mean, but you take the good with the bad. One really bad facial skin graft. One disco dancing by a pool. There were a bunch of disco dancing girls by a pool. One set of breasts by moonlight. Strange. There's a lot of subplots in this film that really don't go anywhere. And one of them is Nadja Gornoff, who plays the sister of the supposed killer brother, likes to stand in the window and show off her boobs to the moonlight. I mean, it's I don't know. I mean, it works, but it doesn't have any point to it. One brother-sister incest. The brother and the sister, mainly Miguel, is it's more him wanting his sister than vice versa. One roller skating rockabilly tune. I mean, you've got this crazy batshit scene where you've got almost every Franco film, you've got some kind of a disco dance scene. You've got the disco ball up there, but they've got this strange, incongruous rockabilly tune that they're trying to dance to. It's like someone out of the 1940s or 50s. It's crazy. It doesn't make any sense. It's hilarious. One knife stabbing through the breast, and of course that's a scene. That's an iconic scene because I mean the stabbing goes from the back through the front in the breast, and of course it perfectly slashes through the nipple. I mean, it's perfect. One industrial lumber chainsaw, circular saw beheading, and of course that's another famous scene. A girl is kind of strapped down on a gurney, a stone gurney, and then she's got this this huge stone cutting saw blade that just chops her head off. But it's so fake and so over the top. It's like how did the BBFC ever take this stuff seriously? And for this to warrant a video nasty, it's ludicrous. It really is. One shadow stabbing, which ends up being a dummy. One jaws of life strangling. So there's these jaws of life, which kind of almost look like fireplace grabbing tools that you grab pieces of wood with. The guy strangles this girl with it. One torch to the face. The aunt gets in the face with a torch. One hedge trimmer to the chest. And that's going to do it. That's basically 12 points. I really don't see a negative to this film. My cutoff is 10. Anything above 10, this is a classic slasher film and a classic Franco film, and I highly recommend it. And I highly recommend this Severin release. Awesome, awesome release. All right, that's going to do it for Franco Fridays. If you have this film or if you've seen it, let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.